Welcome to Within Tolerance Podcast, a podcast for machinists by a machinist. I'm your host, Dylan Jackson from Brody Machining, and this week we're doing something different because it's episode 100. So I've got Easton from Moria Manufacturing, Jake from Yates Precision, and Drew from Drewfab. Welcome, everybody. Good to see y'all.
Glad to be here.
Hey.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Kiora, and welcome to Machinist. Oh, sorry, wrong one.
I was going to say, is this Machinist Therapy Hotline Junior?
Yeah,
pretty much.
We're the junior dream team.
Four jackasses sitting around talking about machining, so might as well be.
So who's who if that's the case?
Oh,
I think
good.
I'm the best looking, so I'm Albert.
So that's how it's going to be then. Okay.
Very, very humble of you, man.
Yes. So does that make me Jody then? Just because I'm the wise ass?
Sure.
Sure.
So what's new?
No, not too much. Well, I guess let's go to each one of you because everybody's tired of hearing me talk anyway. Who wants to start first? You guys all have gotten new machines, I feel like, since you last.
Let's go with Jake since he's the one who spent the most money recently. So
there you go. Jake, what you got going on?
Oh, so like Easton said, I've spent a couple dollars recently. So I guess since we were last on, I think the last time we were on, or I was on, I had just gotten the Haas. Dylan, is that right? Not too long.
Yeah, that's
so. About a month or two ago, I bought a Tsugami M08SY, twin spindle Y-axis lathe. I got the IAMCA bar feeder with it. So maybe a week ago, I got the first part off of that, and that's been a bit of a learning curve. I'm used to programming 6 and 8 axis mill turns at work, but when they're your own machine, you tend to be a little bit more afraid. And when it's coming out of Fusion, you definitely tend to be a little bit more afraid. So it's been a learning curve, but no, it's going good. I love the machine. It's out of my comfort zone, so it's new and challenging. But yeah, it's good. So other than that, also, so it was really between Tsugami and Doosan for me. I wanted to buy new just because I've had my fair share of issues with older machines. I still have the Mori and still love the Mori, but I'm kind of afraid of the fixing older machines. So I wanted to go new. We had just picked up a bunch of work from Wet Shaving Club to justify a new machine purchase. And then it was between Tsugami and Doosan. Our sales and service for Tsugami is a little bit better in this area. It comes out of Morris, Great Lakes. They had a really good deal on a Tsugami that was in inventory. And all in all, it's a little bit smaller footprint than the Lynx. And it's a heavy machine. It's a little over 13,000 pounds. So it's a stout machine on the sub. And yeah, it's a good machine. I heard a lot of good things about them. I went up and saw one at Morris.
Is it Boxway or linear guide?
It is Boxway. Yeah, Boxway.
it's box.
Box,
That's what I thought.
Yeah, so I mean,
Did you look into the travels of it? I think one
Yeah,
of the
I
reasons
did.
the Tsugami's a little smaller is because it's like 4 inches less of Z travel than the other ones.
yeah, it definitely has less Z travel, but the longest part I make right now is 4 inches long. So Z travel, at least for my immediate work scope, isn't an issue. I would really just needed something with a little bit smaller footprint. And, like I said, I like the weight of the machine, too. It's a stout, rigid machine. Hi, Sarah. Drew's wife just walked in.
He's bringing me a remote to the air conditioner and a glass of water because I'm unprepared. And my air conditioner set at 78 degrees and I'm dying.
And I was tired of watching you sweat anyways.
Well, we can't really see much of you because you're filming with a potato, so it's kind of hard to see.
GoPro, man. Come on. So anyway, yeah, so I mean, that was the reason for me going to Tsugami. Like I said, a lot of it was sales and support in this area are pretty good through Morris. And they're a deal I really couldn't refuse, so.
Yeah, no, I mean, the Tsugami was definitely one that I looked at in my lathe buying adventure as well. But the sales guys from Morris in this area were not the best compared to some of the other ones I was looking at, and
it's hit or miss.
Were not willing to make me as good of a deal.
Right. Yeah, that's big. I mean, depending on where you are in the country, really influences what kind of machines you buy. It seems.
Definitely.
Some people have very poor experiences in one area of the country, and it's great in another. So it definitely has something to do with it. But so yeah, and it's 2-year parts and labor warranty on the machine too, which I liked. Yeah, that was the reason behind the Sugami.
So how's the control integration? I've heard a couple of mixed reviews on the control integration.
It's FANUC, so it sucks.
That's not fair.
No,
I mean, it's not sexy FANUC like on the new Doosan's, but
yeah, it's not sexy.
I don't know. I've heard the same thing for sure.
It's, I don't know.
It loads programs and goes though, I assume.
It does. Once after you press enough buttons and get your decoder ring out, you can get a program in there, and it's all however many kilobytes of memory they give you. But it's going from you can say what you want about Haas, but their control is just so much more user friendly, I think. And I've never been in front of a brother, but from what it seems like, they're pretty user friendly as well. But man, going back to FANUC is rough for sure. But yeah, like you said, at the end of the day, it loads a program and it runs the machine. It is what it is. When it comes to turning controls, there's not a whole lot out there really. I mean, you got FANUC, you got Mitsubishi. I think Siemens does some turning controls, but when it comes to turning machines, or turning centers, it's slim pickings. And I figured I was going to have to go with FANUC. Well, I guess Mazak has their own kind of control now too.
I was saying to Dylan a couple, weeks ago or whatever, that every time you figure anything out on a FANUC control on your own, you just feel like the smartest person in the room. Even if it's just something stupid like figuring out how to load a program or something, you're just like, wow, I did that on my own.
Yeah, but if you don't do it again immediately,
it's
like
so
10 more times, you never remember. It's like, it takes, honest to God, I think it's like 10 button pushes to load a program off of a USB drive into a FANUC control. It's like F-get, F-set, executes, all the, it's, yeah, whatever.
It's like working in DOS.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah, I figured out the network stuff at work for both of our Matsuras, and it was the same thing. I felt like such a genius. I was like, oh man, I got to talk to the network. I'm the best. And then, yeah, it was just like, okay, now back to actually making chips. Okay.
Yeah. That's my biggest fear with, I've waffled back and forth on, what we might get next, and if and when we do get another machine. And a lathe has been one of the ideas for a while, and it's like the FANUC control terrifies me, quite frankly. Not because I won't be able to figure it out, but because the learning curve is going to be steeper. And the Haas lathes. We've had discussions offline about Haas lathes. How about that? We'll leave it at that. But but the control is super easy, so it's like that's what makes it super hard. Is like you said, the control is a big part of it, but you've also got Akuma and their IGF, so that's another option, I guess, too.
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't like the fact that Akuma only had like 10-inch chuck lathes with sub spindles. It was like you just couldn't get like a small enough Akuma. Or they were like telling me they were like, we've got a super fast spindle. It's like our super fast spindle goes 3,000 RPM. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, cool. Well,
speaking of lathes, let's turn it over to Easton then. You also just got a lathe. Let's walk through that decision.
Yeah, so that was an interesting adventure. It seems, I thought it was funny. It seems that Jake and I go shopping for machines at about the same time. We got the Haas and the brother at about the same time. I was shopping for a lathe, and Jake goes, oh yeah, I'm shopping for a lathe too. It's like, oh, okay, well, you're slightly ahead of me, but we're still shopping at about the same time. And so I was talking to the sales guys. I've still got a stack of quotes, like 2 inches thick, sitting next to me. I talked to pretty much everyone. And I ended up deciding on, I actually signed the paperwork and everything for a Hyundai SE220 2200L or whatever. It's just same thing as Jake's Tsugami, just made by Hyundai. BMT turret, live tooling, Y-axis subspindle. I had them include a bar feeder, fire suppression, mist collector, etc. They gave it to me at a fantastic price. I went and signed all the paperwork, and then I got approved for financing. And just as like a last step, I went through and some of my relatives are in banking. So I was like, can you guys read through this and just make sure that I'm not missing anything in this on these financing approval that I got? And they're like reading through it and they're like, they're saying that they can cancel the loan at any time and then come pick up everything in the shop for no reason. They don't have to give you any prior notice or anything. And I was like, yeah. So I went back to the bank and I was like, let's not have this section in here. And they're like, oh, that's standard. We're not actually going to do that. But I was like, take it out or I'm just not going to continue to sign the paperwork.
That's what they told me with my brother. They had a clause in there where they could close my loan. What is it called? It's like preemptive closure or something, where if they think you're going to default, they can default your loan. And I was like, you need to take this out or we're done. And he's like, no, I've been doing this 20 years. Like, we've never done this clause. And I was like, then I'm walking. And then the next morning he called me and he was like, you can strike that and initial it and we'll be okay. I talked to my boss and he said that's fine. I was like, good, because that's the only way this is going to happen.
Yeah, and that was, they like refused to take that out. So I just said, nope. And so I like was just kind of sitting there like thinking, do I want to just wait a couple more months and maybe like, and it wasn't like I was trying to do the bare minimum on this loan. I was trying to put about 40% down on the loan and like a couple other things. And it was just like, they just weren't willing to work with me. And I ended up just saying, like, I looked around and it happened to be like perfect timing. One of my coworkers at my last job, his name is Norman. He was a service tech for Methods. So he was super familiar with all the Nakamuras. And this Nakamura, this 2005 C250 popped up. And like we both saw it. And he was like, I think I know that machine. Like I've serviced that recently. I went and looked at it. It was in great shape. When I was driving out to get it, to go look at it, and they called me and they're like, hey, we think it lost all of its parameters. I was like, I'm literally an hour and a half into a 2-hour drive right now, and you tell me this now? And I get there, and the losing its parameters is it says x-axis has not been referenced, and low spindle oil.
Nice.
Last I checked, it wouldn't do that if it had the parameters gone.
Yeah, so I said, do you guys have any spindle oil? They said, yeah, we think the shop next door has some. So I like went, because it was at the riggers like warehouse, and I went and poured some spindle oil in, hit reference on the x-axis. It ended up actually not referencing because it had lost the batteries on the servo drives. But you just have to reestablish the absolute encoders. And so it really wasn't that big of a deal. So because of they thought it had lost its parameters, I told them, I was like, hey, can we do a couple thousand less than asking? Nice. And they went totally for that. So I got the lathe under what I was going to put down for a down payment. It came with a bar feeder. It's an IAM VIP 80. You
guys really are twins.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just realized today, I was like, I have questions for Jake on how he's planning on using that bar feeder, because I haven't mine's hooked up, but it's not aligned or anything yet. I still have to align it and bolt it to the floor. But
mine's mine's aligned, and that's about as far as I've gotten with it. I got about 20 minutes of training from the dude. I think he was in a hurry to get out of here. But I'm getting ready to start struggling through that this week. Moria said they'll come back for a day and train me on integrating the bar feeder with a proven program that I have now. So I'll probably take them up on that pretty soon. But yeah.
The one thing that I'm still like not sure which way I want to go is like there's like the two ways of programming it really, where you have like after every part you have the bar feeder push, or do you have the bar feeder just load the bar and then pull with the sub? kind of thing. That's why I haven't decided which way I want to go yet.
Yeah, I have mine set up, and I'm going to pull with the sub.
See, and that's where I don't really know what the benefits are.
I think pulling with the sub's more accurate, typically. With the bar feeder, I mean, you can either trust the servo that it's going to push it exactly where you want it to go, or you can push to a stop. On some of my parts, I'm doing 2 or 3 pulls. So I'll machine the first half of the part, then pull it out again, and then machine. So I think I've always, even at work, I've always used the sub to pull because I think it's a more accurate way of pulling. And then I'm doing a lot of turning between spindles as well. So I'm already there with the sub spindle.
Oh, okay.
So I'm really just going to have the bar feeder.
You're doing turning between the spindles?
Yeah.
Even with those 3 jaws on there?
Well, so right now I'm just parting between spindles, but that's why I wanted to talk to you about collet chucks today, because I need to turn between spindles, and right now I just don't have enough room. So I saw you just got your Royal chuck mounted. What was that, yesterday?
Yeah, so that was actually interesting. So the knock came with a Royal pullback quick grip 65 on the main. And then it came with a microcentric QG65 on the sub. But the microcentric one had a bunch of run out, actually, that I couldn't chase down. I couldn't figure out where the run out was coming from because it wasn't the adapter, and you'd get 4 of the bolts tight, and then you'd tighten the 5th and 6th bolt, and it would pull it into a thou of run out. So I was gonna live with that for a little bit, but then a deal came up on a new old stock Royal one, so I just decided to replace the microcentric one, and so I got that guy bolted up. But so far I like the Royal one better because it's got the spindle nose is smaller than the microcentric, so parting off is a little bit easier with it.
Is the Royal one?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it the dead length one on the sub spindle? The one that is.
Yeah.
Okay.
You always want to go. What I've always heard is you always want to go dead length on the sub. You can go with pullback on the main, but you have to go with dead length on the sub. So far, I haven't any problems with the pullback on the main, but the microcentric was dead length, so I wanted to replace it with at least an apples to apples kind of one.
All right, I gotta swallow that expensive pill here sometime soon.
I was gonna say this episode should be titled "How to Spend More Money."
Oh yeah, no, I think so. I got the lathe in here, and then I think I spent another about $10,000 on tooling.
Isn't that fun?
It was, yeah.
Ouch.
Every time I think I'm done spending money, it's like, oh, here's another $10,000 bill for something.
So speaking of spending money, Drew, last time you were on, you were running the Haas from from a generator, and I think you had just gotten it. So what's been going on in your world? I'm tired of hearing about lathes for right now.
Well, now I can make fun of Jake because I have legit 3-phase and no phase converters, and I never will have phase converters ever again. I can look at any 3-phase equipment I want. I got more power than I know what to do with. So, but yeah, it was on a generator. That cost me a shitload of money. That was one of the more painful things I've ever had to do. So I can't say the cool thing. The only positive that came out of that was that SDG&E has a program where after they do your job, they will give you an opportunity to say, hey, you guys screwed up and cost me more money, and you can apply for some money back. So they gave me a piece of paper that they had signed, that I signed, that said, hey, your job's going to be done on November 22nd, I think the day it was. Came and went. We had red flag warnings. They had to cancel all this other crap. And then they rescheduled 3 other times within December. Finally got it done on January 4th. It was a total of 46 days or something like that. In that I spent $3,600 on the generator and fuel, the rental and fuel. And so I applied for $3,600 back, and they were giving me a hard time. Oh, we can't do that. And so, well, that's bullshit. You guys cost me 46 days. And they said, well, do you have a signed piece of paper that says we were going to complete on this day? Why, yes, I do. Here you go. So I sent it over, and they're like, I'll have this $3,600 check to you at the end of the week. So that was the only positive thing that came out of this. I got some money back, but it was brutal. I mean, it came out to, it cost me $2,000 a month just in generator rental and fuel. It was absolutely brutal.
Jeez.
And I ran it for almost 6 months. It was, or no, 5 months, I think is what it ended up being. So was that July to December. So whatever that is. That's like, it was freaking brutal. And the worst part about it is like, I couldn't do, even if I wanted to, I couldn't let the machine run overnight. I couldn't let the machine run early in the mornings. Like I couldn't get up early and go run something because I got a freaking 75 horsepower generator, in my yard. And it's like, I can't wake up the neighbors. So it sucked.
Yeah, but you could run your machine during you could run your machine through thunderstorms and when everyone else's power is out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there is some benefit there. I probably would have been better off buying the generator outright, using it, and then reselling it when I was done, to be completely honest. Because it would have been so low hours, it would have still sold for, essentially full sticker price. So,
right.
But yeah, I mean, I got 3-phase, which is nice.
How's the Haas? Because last time you had like just gotten it, we're just getting used to it, all that.
Still just getting used to it. Every time I think I've gotten used to it, I do something stupid and remind myself of why I'm still getting used to it.
That's called being a machinist.
Yeah.
That's not called the Haas problem. That's
no, that's not unique to Haas.
Yeah.
Well, like this morning was I programmed these parts, and I've been using the 3D adaptive, and it's HSM works, but that's what Fusion that's pulled from. So I'm using the 3D adaptive a lot, and you can set a max step down, and it'll warn you if you've exceeded the flute length of the tool. Well, when you use the 2D, it doesn't, and I had already kind of programmed this part with the 2D.
Oh.
And I forgot that the 1/4-inch end mill that was in there was a 3/4 length of cut, not the 1-inch length of cut that I needed. So I started cutting, it was making some noise. I'm like, that's not right. I paused it, and I killed it, and I pulled it up. I was like, yeah, that's why. So luckily it was 753, and I called up Western Tool, and I was like, hey, I need a 1-inch length of cut, and here's the MA Ford number. And they're like, oh yeah, we got 2 in stock. And I hauled ass down there, grabbed them, came back, threw it in there, and hit cycle start, and it rocked and rolled. But just the little shit like that, that you going fast. It's, I'm working early in the morning now. So it's, tired early in the morning, going fast, trying to do everything I can in 3 hours before I start my day job. And then, shit happens. Luckily I haven't had anything really bad other than the probe. That was a sad day.
Ooh, that was rough, dude.
That was rough. That cost me a lot of money.
You have a different day job than the last time you were on, right? Or are you at the same place?
I do, yeah. No, I've got a different day job. So I worked for a company called Velo 3D as a mechanical design engineer. So you probably don't want to buy their machines if I'm designing it. No, I'm kidding. But we design and build a line of metal 3D printers. And we're working on designing our next machine right now. I'm part of the hardware team there. So I work for myself. Depending on the day, between 5 and 6 a.m. is when I start. It depends on when I get my lazy ass out of bed. And then I finish for myself around 9 a.m. and then I start my day job from 9 to 5. So, yeah, it's actually been better. I get more done in the morning than I do in the afternoon. Less stuff going on, it seems like. And it's a little more calm. Less people, less things happening, less people awake kind of thing. So I've enjoyed it. It's a nice workflow for me. And yeah. So I set up an office in my shop, and I can literally look out the window of the office and see the machine. So I can run some parts, but Dylan, as you know, because you do a lot of short run stuff, it's like, you've got a 30-minute cycle time on something. I can't get up every 30 minutes and go change parts. So it might be every, 3 hours or whatever. I'll get up and go change parts, something like that. And a lot of times I haven't proved it. It's like, it'll take me, a day to get everything programmed, set up, and proved. And then the next day I can run some parts or something like that. So it's, just one of those things. But
yeah, what always seems to me like I knock out all the big ops when I don't really need to be sitting around doing nothing.
Uh-huh.
And then the days that I'd love to be like loading the machine or whatever, it's like 2-minute ops and 30-minute setups or something like that.
Yeah.
So
or you forgot to program the next op and you're sitting there with your thumb in your ass because you forgot to do it. It's like, damn it.
Or the worst is when it's like Friday afternoon at like 4 p.m. and you're like, oh shit, I forgot to order tooling that I need for this weekend.
Yeah. I thought I had that tap in stock.
That's usually when I start crying.
Yeah.
And I wish McMastercard did Saturday deliveries.
They do.
Do they?
For me?
I've never gotten one. I usually
You
get
just
them
have to
Mondays.
call them.
Is that right?
You just call them and you say, yeah, I need this on Saturday, and they'll deliver it on Saturday.
Oh man, okay, I'll remember that because there's been a couple times I use their roll taps a lot because they're cheap and easy to get for aluminum. And there's been a couple times I'm like, oh shit, I need that M6 tap or whatever,
Yep. MSC will too if you call them.
Really?
It will cost you more than
a leg.
Yeah, I think the last time I had to get one tap for a rush order, and it was like a $20 tap and $130 in shipping. And I was like, well, okay, I learned my lesson. Like,
yeah,
not doing that again.
To learn it.
Yeah.
Well, it's also the M6.
Go ahead, finish.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say what's.
I was just gonna say the M6 tap.
See, we're exactly alike.
There's definitely a delay.
Yeah, I think I might be a little bit delayed, but Easton and I are exactly alike, so we just we say the same stuff, talk at the same time.
Yep. I think Jake's just a little slow. I don't think it's a delay. It's just Jake's a little slow.
I think we all are.
What's new in Protium? I just got a fourth for the brother, which nice. I'm super pumped. That should go on early July, depending. That's going to be epic. I've already almost pre-sold enough work to pay for it, which is fantastic. I just have to execute now, which is the scary part. But and then
did you buy a new one or is it used?
It's used. So actually, past guest of the podcast, Jacob from Pantechnicon, they had one that they never ended up using, and Easton kindly gave me the lead because he just bought a new lathe to him, so he shouldn't be spending more money.
Well, no, what it was it was either the fourth axis or like 3 collets. So
only 3?
Ouch.
That's insane.
So it was no, they're not that bad, but they're pretty bad. But I was like, I like for months and months I've been like planning to ask Jacob if I can buy that fourth axis because like one of the first times I do a fair amount of work for Jacob, and Jacob one time said to me, he's like, hey, you ever interested in like a fourth axis? This was like last year in like July. And I was like, yeah, maybe at some point. So then they're moving into their new shop and Jacob's like, all right, how about now? And I was like, this is a really bad time. Sure. And then I'm like, I get the lathe in here and I'm calculating out like what my tooling is going to cost. And so Jacob's like, are you ready to buy that fourth axis? And I was like, I think Dylan's ready to buy a fourth axis.
Well, because you told me the day he offered it to you, you told me about it. And I was like, well, if you don't want it, let me know. I want it. And it ended up working out. So, yeah, I got the fourth. Super excited about that. Funny enough, so we've got that subplate on the machine that has all the 0-point fixtures from Orange. And literally the day the fourth showed up, Eric released his 90-degree little single-sided trunnion that I was going to have to make anyway. And so I was like, well, this is the best coincidence possible. Like, I don't have to make that anymore.
Mm-hmm. I swear, Eric and Frank both just read people's minds. Like, I was like looking through Big Kaiser's catalog like 2 days ago, like thinking, wow, these hydraulic like lathe bushings are awesome. And then like Frank posts, check out the new Mari Tool hydraulic lathe bushings. I was like, oh, well, there we go.
Yeah, you want to talk about 3 collets for the price of a fourth. Talk about Big Kaiser right there.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That stuff is nice, but I'm not that rich.
A little rich for my blood.
And then the other big thing is I told my day job that I'm leaving towards the end of the year. So
finally.
Sweet.
Yes, I will be joining Easton in entrepreneurship and
awesome, man.
Not working a day job.
That'll be sweet.
Awesome.
That'll be really
congrats.
exciting.
Yeah, congrats to both of you, Easton, as well.
Yeah, dude.
Oh yeah, thanks.
I meant to say it on here. Congrats for sure.
Yeah, it was a weird transition because I gave him like 2 months of notice. I was like, hey, just so you guys know, I was like, this is getting a little crazy. I'm working like 110 hours a week. Like, this isn't sustainable anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you guys don't want me talking to customers if I'm just going to start becoming a total dick to them.
Like, or fall asleep.
Like, yeah, this is
not that
just
any
not
of us
working.
have done that at our day jobs, I'm sure.
No, never. Especially not during like the super long meetings where someone's just talking in a monotone voice.
Yeah, the meetings that smell like they could have been an email.
Talking about nothing for an hour.
Yeah.
And it was. I just gave him. I was like, I'm gonna go. So what do you guys need from me, kind of thing? And it was a good transition, and I think I feel like I was somewhat helpful at the end, getting whatever knowledge that I had like stored away in my head, kind of thing, and transferring over some different roles to some other people, and then it was just kind of a good. My last day was the Friday before June 1st. So
nice. That's cool. Congrats to both of you guys.
Thanks. I just got to get there now. I'm happy that I gave them a lot of time, but it's a struggle now. It's like, man, I really just need to be at my shop full time.
Yeah, senioritis full on, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So Dylan, are you both going full time? You and Brad?
No, I'm just doing it full time, and then Brad will come on hopefully sometime next year. Maybe. Nice. I mean, we'll see when we can afford him, but pretty much as soon as we possibly can, because he's getting the itch as well.
I'm sure. So
I'm still waiting for the podcast episode with Brad.
Yeah, that's true. I'm waiting for that too. When's he coming on?
Well, I was thinking about episode 100, but I had to ask you guys. So
I'm not even sure if he actually exists.
We'll see.
I can confirm he exists. I met him in person.
Yeah, there is one person here who, besides me, who has seen him.
I actually have seen him. The proverbial Brad.
Yeah, he definitely wasn't an actor.
Yeah. Wait, there's actors in Tucson?
Yeah, they're just old Wild West people.
You just grab someone from Tombstone, huh?
Yep, exactly. Like you look like you could act. You fall really well when they shoot you with the fake guns.
So yeah, Jake, when are you going out on your own? Not to put you on the spot, but I'm putting you on the spot.
So right now, the plan is hopefully Q1 of next year is kind of the goal. So really? I'm kind of in the same boat as Easton is, where it's like I'm burning it from every possible end there is. Because you got full-time job, I got this gig, got 2 kids, stupidly pursuing my MBA right now, coaching soccer. I'm doing too much. so something has to give. I don't think the kids and family are going anywhere anytime soon. So I guess something else has to. I've got too much invested out here, so this isn't really going anywhere anytime soon. So something has to give. But again, I'm also still trying to work towards automating a lot of my stuff, being that I make mostly my own products, and even like the wet shaving club stuff still falls within that safety razor envelope where I can automate a lot of stuff, and the Haas is still running, 15 hours at a clip without me touching it. The Tsugami, the plan is to run at least 8 to 10 hours without me having to touch it. And then we have a college intern working for us during the day here, which has been working out very well for us. So he keeps the older machines running during the day, as well as I'm actually teaching him to do some setups and stuff too. He's a mechanical engineering student, so he's a pretty bright kid. And then actually, something I hadn't really mentioned, I brought on a business partner at the beginning of this year. He bought in for a small percentage of the company now. And with the option of buying a little bit more percentage here towards the end of the year, he's been a huge help. He doesn't have a machining background, but he's got a management background. So he's helping out a lot with, he keeps machines running, he's helping with shipping, fulfilling orders, and then he's learning some of the machining stuff too. So that's been a huge help. He's a high school friend, so I've known him for quite some time, and he was helping me out here, just volunteered for a while, and then I thought it was the right idea to bring him on board because it's becoming too much for one person. So that's been good. So everything's pointing towards hopefully early next year me being out here full time.
Congrats. That's super cool.
Is he the guy that was wearing the Drewfab hat in the one picture, the one post?
Yep. He loves the Drewfab hat. He wears it all the time. So he has a Drewfab. Yeah,
I like that guy.
He's got a Drewfab hat and a Pro Shop hat, and that's all he wears now.
Okay,
like my
so
nephew, he got a Haas hat when we got the Haas, and he never stops wearing it.
there you go. So you brought it up, Jake. You just got Pro Shop. You're learning it. What can you tell us? Like, I think all of us have looked at ERP and really want ERP. What's going on?
Yeah, so we purchased Pro Shop beginning of May, maybe end of April, beginning of May, and then started implementing it. And it's about a 3-month process of implementing Pro Shop. So we're actually, I just talked to our implementation guy today. He said we're 20 of 30 hours into implementation. So we've been meeting twice a week for an hour and a half, web meetings, and just learning Pro Shop because there's a lot there to learn. But I can't say enough about like Paul and his team there. So how I heard about it through this podcast when Paul was on and started pursuing it then. And then I actually shot him a text or an email, and he gave me a phone call, and then we got to talking. And yeah, I mean, it just made sense because prior to that, I'm using Excel and Word and Airtable, and it was getting to be too much to keep track of. But yeah, I mean, so far ProShop's been great. I'm just now getting parts into ProShop, routers, work orders, things like that, and we just got into the scheduling just 10 minutes before I jumped on here. I finished up ProShop training, so we're getting into scheduling, and it's been great so far. And I mean, for the price, I think it's going to pay for itself in a hurry. Dylan, we were chatting here before, and they're upfront about it. They have a minimum of $500 a month, and we still fall well within that minimum. Right now, we have 5 total seats, 3 high level, and then 2 just operator seats, and we're still at that $500 a month threshold. Like I said, it's great. So, looking forward to using it more. I liked Airtable, and I still use it for some stuff, but there was just too many different systems, and it was, like I said, getting to be too much. So yeah, I'll keep everybody updated as we proceed here. So yeah, it's been good. I think there's another.
So you guys are doing the subscription model?
Yes, yeah, we did the subscription model, which is what they suggest. So it's all cloud based. Okay. So I can log on my phone, iPad, my work computer, wherever, and pretty much have full access wherever I am. And you can definitely tell that it was developed by machinists and not by accountants or software engineers. They've thought of everything that comes up on the shop floor. It's part of ProShop. So so far it's impressive.
So did you look at anything else?
I looked at, like, I think Odoo is one, and I kind of used the free version of Odoo for a little while, and it was okay. I had looked at like E2 and Job Boss, and I actually just talked to someone who's looking at switching from Job Boss to ProShop because they don't like Job Boss. And at work we use something that's god awful. It's pretty much meant for the accounting world, not for manufacturing world. So, and then I like Paul's story. I like that they're a little bit of a smaller company, but they've lived and breathed shop floor and machining, and they did it, and they grew a successful company, and they developed the software because they needed the software, not because they were trying to sell it. Yeah, like I said, it's great, and they really take the time to implement it. Like I said, we're doing 2 hour-and-a-half training sessions a week for 3 straight months getting implemented. So they want to make sure that you're doing it correctly, that everything meets your satisfaction levels, and it's like I said, I'm thrilled so far, and I have 0 complaints. There's a little bit of a steep learning curve for some of it, but the quoting in estimating and quoting in ProShop is awesome. It's great, and what's nice is you create an estimate, which you build your router and everything for your part, and then you turn that into a quote in about 1 click, and then you create once the customer places a PO, you enter that PO in about 1 click, and then create the work order in another click. You're not doing anything twice. You do it up front, but you can always go back and tweak things. But it's very intuitive. So far, I'm very happy.
That's sweet.
So what was your goal with Pro Shop? Was it like the quality side, or was it just like workflow management? Or I mean, what was your guys' motivation for it?
It's really workflow management and work order management and scheduling management, and also tracking. You can track all your materials. So we keep stock for our razors in house, but before it was like I'd need to run some razors, and I'd look down and be like, oh shit, I don't have any stock. So there's a week that I have to wait to get stock in. Whereas now I track all of my stock inventory in Pro Shop. It tells you when you're getting low. I can cut a PO right to Penn Stainless out of Pro Shop, and then receive it in, and then it automatically goes into inventory. As soon as you create a work order for a razor, it pulls that stock from inventory. So
Nice. That's pretty sweet. Yeah, I looked at them a while back. It was just more than we could chew at the time.
yeah, and
Yeah, I
now
definitely
that I
see that
have
in my
four,
future for sure.
yeah, now that I have 4 machines, it's kind of the scheduling is going to become pretty important. And they also have, setup sheets in there are great. It's all integrated in Pro Shop, so all your shop floor instructions, all your inspection instructions, entering your inspection, all that is right there. It's very user friendly. So it's yeah. Like I said, so far 0 complaints, and I would highly recommend it.
That was low key a flex. I got 4 machines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, are we counting manual machines or no?
I'll bet you I got the biggest manual lathe if we are, so I win there.
You definitely do. Like by
If
far.
that's a contest you want to win, then cool.
Hey, if it's the only thing I can win, I'll take it.
Hey, I bet you have the most power out of all of us too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm over here stuck with 200 amps, so
Yeah, that's going to be an
That's
issue for me soon.
Yeah, I have 100 amps, so I don't want to hear it.
yeah. But what your Speedio runs on what 3?
I mean, it
And a
says
half.
30, but yeah, probably 3. And then the other brother is probably about the same.
So, Jake, do you guys use your power meter as a fan in the summertime, or?
That's good. That's good.
I'm sure that phase converter is a good heater during the winter.
Oh my god, that room. Listen, so the Tsugami, believe it or not, and I didn't know this going into it, is an air hog. It uses so much air because
really?
it has a constant spindle purge and turret purge, and it's like an oil mist, but you can hear it just pissing air constantly. So now I still have just a 2-stage compressor. That thing runs. That's going to be the next investment is a new compressor, because it gets hot in that room, like hot in that room, because I have it all enclosed and with rock wool insulation, so it's not loud, but that's an issue. Between that and the phase converter, it's toasty in there. I won't need my heater this winter, I'm sure.
That's right. Easton and I both got new compressors since the last time we've talked about them on the podcast.
Yeah, rub it in.
Yeah.
Well, mine wasn't a problem, but it will be kind of thing. So the building that I'm in used to be one giant machine shop. I think I explained this on the last time I was on here. But the shop next door, it's like a bigger shop than mine, big job shop. I used to work for them, but they moved into the building as well a few years before I did. And there's 2 compressors. There's 2 Quincy piston compressors, like 120-gallon compressors in the building. And they use those, and then I tap off of them. So it's like 100% duty cycle now. And then one of the compressors threw a rod. So it's just an air tank now. So there's a single 120-gallon compressor for 2 shops. And most of my machines, the only one that uses air is the Speedio up until I got the knock. And the knock has constant air purge on the spindle and the turret. So I don't trust that compressor. I think the last time it had an oil change on that compressor was when I did it before I left that shop. And that was 2 years ago. So I was not feeling too too hot about that. And so I've been looking at getting a compressor since Dylan got one, and then Mari Tool posted that they were going to be selling their backup compressor. And Mari Tool is only like 2.5 hours from me.
Nice.
So
I'm jealous.
I like put in I said, yeah, I'll take it. And I was apparently the first one to say so. So I got that thing for $2,500.
Nice.
That's great.
That's a screw compressor?
Yeah. Atlas Copco GX4 with the dryer.
Nice. That's rad.
So I just got to get more power to hook that up now because I literally don't have any open breaker positions in the panel. So the electricians have to come out and put in a new panel.
Yeah, but you have plenty of power for it, though, right?
I should. I've got 200 amps of actual three-phase. I've got the knock, which uses like 80 amps. I've got the Speedio, which uses like 30. So I've got like a 50 amp breaker. The small lathe, my 2-axis, my Miyano, I think uses 50 or 60. So, yes, I should have enough power.
Well, and you figure what the electrician was telling me when he hooked all my stuff up was, so like my Haas needs a 70 amp breaker, but you'll probably never see above like 30. So it's just, in theory you should have the full 70, 80 amp breaker or whatever, but you'll probably never even get close to it, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I quit doing the calculations and I just started hooking stuff up and hoping for the best.
So it'll be that time you're taking like a huge cut in stainless on the lathe and like the Haas is at full tilt and everything's just gonna go
Yeah, pretty much.
Ashley will turn on the hair dryer and everything's just gonna take a shit.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, we do at least have separate service between the shop and the house. So.
Oh, that's super nice.
Sweet.
Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I thought you were on the same service.
Nah, it's separate 200 amp service.
Nice. That's not bad. Okay.
That's actually awesome.
So I had a question. I think we've all kind of alluded to it. So like we're all kind of in the same place as far as I would say being younger and new to owning our own businesses and stuff. And one of the things Dylan and I have talked about a lot is like the debt to income ratio and like using financing to get your business to the next level. And I know that's my biggest hurdle is I need money to be able to do things, but I'm too damn cheap to spend it. And I don't want to have any debt if I don't have to. And like the thing that I do, and I've bit myself in the ass now twice with this, is I pay off too much debt and then I have no cash. And because I like forgot about something that was coming up, this month was insurance. I forgot about the insurance, paid off too much debt. And I'm like, well, fuck, now I got to pay off another $1,000 insurance bill. And so it's like, that's something that I've struggled with a lot. And I'm sure you guys have too, especially, the more machines you buy and whatnot. And as you buy more equipment, I know Dylan, you said you just got you got your loan you were working on updated to a higher value or something like that. So
yeah, I haven't
what are you
heard
guys
anything
thinking
back about that. So, but we'll see.
Yeah. So I mean, Jake and Easton, I mean, what's your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I guess
technically I actually don't have any debt right now.
So Easton's out.
So why don't you guys both talk at the same time?
Yeah.
Makes it easier for everyone.
Editing super fun. Thanks,
guys.
Yeah,
no, I mean, we got to make your life easy.
My mic must be delayed because like I can see you guys talking and then I talk and then you guys sit there in silence for like a couple seconds and then it's like this is weird. So.
It's probably the potato you're using to film yourself.
I don't understand
that
the potato
that's
reference.
running in the background.
All right, I'll speak to this. I guess
your video's a little grainy. That's the joke. Okay, yeah, go ahead, Jake.
Well, I'm also out in the sticks here, and my internet speed is like 3 megabytes a second. So you're lucky I can talk to you at all. So, anyways, I was in the same boat. I bought the Mori for $3,000. I bought the Mazak for $3,000 cash, so I was no debt there. And then I couldn't keep up with those machines, mainly because I couldn't run them when I wasn't here. Or if I ran the Mori while I wasn't here, I mean, I came into a $500 tooling bill at least 4 times because a tool broke, and then 6 more tools broke behind it. So at that point, I had enough. I had an idea that my product was good enough, and I had enough sales that I could sustain a payment for the Haas. And it was definitely a tough pill to swallow still to finance it. But I jumped on it, and it really hasn't been an issue yet. And then I was still limited by my lathe. So, I make 4-inch long handles that are 400 thou in diameter. So it's the L to D ratio isn't great for a lathe. So I was pulling them out in 2 or 3 pulls. You had to stand there the whole time. So I needed a new lathe, but I really couldn't justify it. But then with Wet Shaving Club, their sales started to kind of pick up, and I convinced them to place a 14-month blanket PO committing to a certain quantity over those 14 months and a certain monthly quantity that more than covered the payment of the Tsugami. So I knew that for at least 12 to 14 months, I had the payment covered, and in that time, I could then go out and look for more work beyond that, and I'm sure that they will continue to order beyond that as well. So it still is a little bit nerve-wracking, but the fact that I had, at least 12 months to secure some more work was a bit of a relief. But yeah, I mean, if I didn't have the work to justify it, I don't think I'd have the cojones to take that leap.
Yeah, I think you and I were kind of in the same boat with the Haases. I mean, I risk bought mine. I mean, I was in the place where I was like, I know I can do it. I was also working on a dinosaur, so there was that, right? But same kind of thing. Whereas like I risk bought it, but much to your point, now I've got some stuff in the works, but nothing's come to roost yet. So I'm not willing to risk buy a second machine and have it sit and then eat a payment.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, securing the blanket PO was huge.
Oh. Yeah.
We just need Jake to start talking like he's on Clubhouse and finish everything with, and my name's Jake, and I'm done talking.
If I raise my hand,
or like he's on a CB radio.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Just raise me.
He's on a CB radio. Over.
Yep.
No, and I guess to kind of answer from my perspective, actually at the moment I've my only debt is the Speedio, and that was kind of an interesting one. I think I've told a couple people this story, but it was when I went to go finance the Speedio, I looked at it 2 ways. I was like, I want to be independent. I'm gonna do this on my own, like I've done the rest of my business on my own, blah blah blah. And I priced out the loan, and it wasn't bad. It was doable. And I was like, but out of curiosity, what would happen if I had my parents co-sign on it? And they're like, oh, well, then you get a 10-year loan with 2% APR.
Oh,
jeez,
that's freaking amazing.
Oh, okay, never mind. Like my pride can go suck it. Nope. So my Speedio is just I think my Speedio cost me $650 a month to run.
Nice.
So at that price, it's I practically consider that no debt kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's and again, I was willing to jump in at that Hyundai. I think was 145,000. So it was I was willing to jump into that, and the frustrating part was whenever I started bringing up all of those limitations to the loan people, I was like, yeah, this doesn't work. They were like, well, if you're worried about the monthly payments, and I'm like, dude, I'm not worried about the monthly payments.
Yeah, I'm worried about you being predatory AF.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's well, but if you're worried about the monthly payments, and it's I'm not worried about the monthly payments. I'm simply saying I don't want to get screwed over by you.
Yeah.
They were being as predatory towards you as colleges are towards students. Some of the stuff you were telling me, I was like, wow, that is messed up.
I was just you know what? I'll just keep buying like really good used machines. I will take the risk of that thing breaking down for right now, and then I'm just gonna buy my next machine cash, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't help when you roll
Yes,
into the
Jake.
bank after just getting off the school bus.
I was gonna say, did you try like growing a mustache or a beard, or can you at your point in puberty, can you grow a mustache or a beard?
The fact that you raised your hand for that, Jake, is so good.
See, that's truly the definition of when the teacher says to the back of the class, when two students are talking, what do you have to share with the class? That is right there. Jake is the student who stands up and says exactly what he was talking about.
Oh, man, that's funny.
But no, I think that was definitely part of it, because like a couple of them, like they were like totally willing to work with me, and then they're like, okay, what's your date of birth? And I would like tell them, and they're like, oh, so how long have you been in business? It's like, oh,
Long
okay,
enough.
Yeah.
Long enough. I'm fine.
I've got a lot of machines now. Thanks.
Yeah, I got cash and I can make the payment. What do you care?
Yeah, exactly. And then it was like, and one of them, I was like, and I know you guys are probably, because of my age and everything like that, you guys are going to want to take a position on the Speedio. I would say I would totally recommend that, blah, 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 blah. Like, here's all the paperwork for the Speedio. And they're like, well, we don't want to do that. And I was like, okay. And they're like, so we're going to try it without. And then they would screw around for like 2 weeks. Then they'd come back and they're like, well, we can't finance you without taking a position on your Speedio. I'm like, yeah, that's what I told you to do.
Thanks.
I knew that.
They're
like, yep, got it.
Funny. Yeah, I had a lot of trouble getting financing with the Haas too, because when I officially started my business, I didn't have enough official timeline. I've been doing it for a long time, but I didn't have an official business name, and so like I didn't have enough years yet to where they were willing to go, oh, we'll finance you for whatever. So I had to get creative with mine too, because it's it's just what they want. I had one company tell me I don't have enough credit. It's like I think I told you, Easton, it's like I've had a mortgage for 5 years and I've got credit cards and credit score of almost 800, and they considered that not enough credit. I'm like, I don't know what else you want me to do.
Well, on top of that, what it was one bank that I was talking to said the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. They said, I was looking at a Nakamura AS200 LMYS. So with a bar feeder, that thing was like $250,000. And so I was like, all right, so this is what I'm looking to finance. And they go, all right, and so what's your annual like gross revenue for your shop? And I told them the number, and they were like, so you're trying to finance a machine for more than your annual revenue?
Like, yeah, I'm not paying enough in 1 year, dummy.
Yeah. I'm looking for a 5-year.
But
yeah, I'm like, and they're like, that's really unusual. I'm like, no, it's not. That's the entire point of a loan. If I could pay it off in 1 year, then I would just pay cash.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think that's one of the hardest things about a small shop is, especially when you're working part-time, like side job kind of thing, you've got low revenue, but you have enough work to be able to support like the payment or payment and some, and you're trying to grow the business. So you need that money, you need that machine. So that's like the hardest thing I think about it is there's a stigma with a small shop that doesn't have high revenue numbers, but can afford the payment,
Yeah. Well, and they don't tell you like what builds business credit. Like we had a line of credit for like a year and a half or 2 years for the business before we tried to get the Speedio. And the first place we went, we were like, well, here's all our stuff. And they're like, we have zero business credit. I'm like, well, what was all of this for? Like we got this so we could build business credit. And they're like, I don't know. Like you need to have a loan or something. And I was like, great. Okay. And like, thankfully we found the bank we went to, but the first place was like, yeah, I don't know. We only got one place to get you a loan, and this is the best you're going to get, I think. And I was like, this sucks.
Yeah. It's like you got to have a loan to be able to get a loan. It's like that. How the hell does that work?
Yeah. yeah, we want to hire you, but you have to have a master's degree. We have to be 20, and you have to have 40 hours or like 4,000 hours of like experience. It's like, okay,
Right.
yeah, that works.
It's just like it oftentimes, and this is first world problem like number one right here. But it just feels like when you're running a small business, like everything is working against you. Yeah. Like it's just trying to prevent you from continuing.
Especially when you try to do things the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of shops around here that they don't have insurance. They don't like the shops that like don't pay guys right and stuff like that. You know, they just don't do things the right way. And like I've always tried to do stuff as well as I could the right way, and it never fails that I get bit every time I try to cut any little corner. You know, and it sucks. Like you said, starting a small business, especially in California, is really hard.
Oh yeah. Or like they won't have any inspection equipment. They'll be like, I got calipers and it's a new machine, so it must be good.
Yeah.
And they're shipping like aerospace parts, and you're like, that's not at all how it works. Like,
yeah. I walked into one shop and they didn't even know what a gauge pin was. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And you're doing what?
See, Dylan, this is why you're in business though.
Right. Because I know what I'm doing. Like as far as quality goes. Like people are like, I trust that you're shipping me good parts.
Yeah.
Like I worked at a shop who is no longer in business, so I can talk shit about them. But one time I was running a part on their VF9. It was some giant machine, and we had to do a fair for this part for a customer. And I was like, hey, this doesn't fit in any of our gauges. I can't check half of these features because they're too big. And he goes, well, check this tiny pocket. And it's the same tool that cuts that as everything else on the part. So as long as that pocket's good, just fill everything in with the same plus or minus tolerance. And I was like,
that's totally how that works.
Yeah, I was like, I don't feel comfortable doing that. You go ahead and fill that in and you put your name on it, but I'm not doing that. Like, that's not what a fair is supposed to be. And he was like, okay, whatever. And like, I was like, hands off. I'm done. Like, this is...
Yeah. That's so sketchy.
I didn't last long, and they didn't last long after I left. So I feel like the market took its course there.
Well, and there's like things like I some of my customers, I'll do first article inspections where they'll just say like, oh, let's just do it over like FaceTime or Zoom or whatever. And it's like, I don't know if I feel comfortable doing that, because like if I'm measuring it differently than how you're going to measure it, like that can also cause all sorts of problems. So yeah, no, I mean, first article inspections are so important to like be done properly. That's not one of the things you can cut a corner on, really.
Right. Well, I actually got bid on one where I do calibrate at point of use for all of my tools. We're not ISO, so I haven't sent my gauges off to be calibrated, but I've measured the same thing with enough tools where I've got some confidence interval. But I had one where it's a 2-point ID mic, and I forgot to calibrate it before I used it, and it was off a half thou, and it was just enough to where it was like, I think it ended up being 0.2 undersize. And I was like, well, that sucks. It was just one of those things. Like, of course, the one tool I grabbed that I haven't calibrated,
I mean, even calibrated, though, like I've been bit by, you're tired and you misread the thimble of a mic by a full 25 thou. Or it's like right on the line and you're like, yep, good, ship it. And then you're like, nope, not even close to good.
Yeah. Yep.
Alrighty, guys. Well, Drew, you got to run.
Yeah, sorry, man. Timing.
It gives us more opportunity to hang out, talk shop in just a couple weeks. So thanks,
I like the conversation too. So.
Yeah, definitely. It's cool to get to talk to people who are on the same wavelength.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, right on. Thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate it. Great to talk to you. Thanks everyone for listening for 100 episodes. I'm going to keep it going. So I more guests, more people. We'll be back with these three in a couple weeks. Maybe.
And if anyone wants to buy a Kitamura, contact Protean Machining.
Yeah, actually, I'm shameless. If anybody wants a Kitamura, totally come and get it. We will work out a deal. I want it out of my shop. I need room. All right. Well, thank you guys again. And thanks everyone. Patreon. Thanks just absolutely everyone. I appreciate all the support.
Right on.
Have a good night.